While the Raptors' time in Vegas didn't end on the highest note, with their head coach James Wade being ejected and suffering their first and only loss at the hands of the Sacramento Kings in the semifinals. Even with that though, the Summer League was a massive success for the Toronto Raptors, with several key things standing out during their time in Sin City. So here are my biggest takeaways from the Raptors' time in Vegas. To start us off, watching this team at Summer League, one thing just jumped off the screen at you, and that was their relentless defensive pressure, swarming help side defense, and overall activity on that side of the court. Last season during the regular season, the Raptors underwent a pretty seismic change to their defensive scheme. Darko made it a point to play a very high-pressure style that involved moving on the defensive end, with players swarming to the middle of the court, then recovering quickly to the three-point line to stop any easy catch and shoots. And to start the year, there were some pretty clear growing pains, and it took the Raptors a little while to adapt to this style, but once they did, they became a top 4 defense over the last 47 games of the regular season with a defensive rating of 111.2. And now from watching the Summer League, I think it's pretty clear that the Raptors want to continue their defensive prowess from last season and build it into a key component of this team's identity. And they use their time in Vegas to instill that belief, that identity, that culture in all of their young players and any potential players coming in. Just some fun stats for you from Vegas. The Raptors opponents averaged 26.4 turnovers per game. Toronto held opponents to under 80 points twice and never gave up 100 or more points in a single game. And that's really just down to this team's effort and commitment to the defensive side of the ball. And I think it was really impressive and important that it wasn't just the Raptors' defensive standouts like Colin Murray-Boyle, Jonathan Mogbo, and Jamal Shed hounding and locking guys down. It was the entire team. Guys like Jacoby Walter, Jamison Battle were moving their feet extremely well on the perimeter, playing that high ball pressure, trapping guys on the corner, or just swarming guys in the paint. Someone like Ulrich Chomche completely elevated their level to match the intensity from everyone around the court. And you could tell even guys who weren't part of the team last year bought into this identity and this culture, and it showed on the court. Everyone was picking up 94 feet, getting steals in the backcourt, and trapping players the second they crossed half court. And I think the Raptors can take that energy, that intensity, that belief from last season, from Vegas, and continue to carry it over into this coming season. I think it's going to be a major part in how well they can play. The second thing, or player, I should say, who popped off the screen at me was the Raptors lottery pick Colin Murray-Boyles. After missing his first game, CMB joined the team against the Magic, and he looked, I would say, a little unsure, or at least not fully confident in his ability to score. He didn't really want to handle the ball. He wasn't really looking at the basket outside of putbacks or catch and shoot threes. I can understand that. This is a guy who was drafted for his defense. He wasn't really viewed as an elite scorer. So now you want to make your name for yourself through that defense, through what got you drafted. But he did just average 17 points per game in an extremely tough college conference, which means he can score. And I think as Summer League went on, that was really on full display, especially against the Warriors, where he dropped 20 points, and he was doing it really from everywhere on the court. He got 6 offensive rebounds, showing his just dominant physical force around the rim. Got to the line multiple times. He hit a 3, he attacked in the open court, and he played out of the pick and roll as a really solid roll man. He demonstrated not only his defensive versatility, but also his offensive capabilities. And of course, we have to talk about him defensively as well. You never want to compare a guy to Draymond Green because that's a top 5 defender of all time. But I can understand why CMB was getting some of those comparisons coming in. He's an excellent help side defender, especially at the rim, where he can just come out of nowhere and erase a good look. That awareness goes beyond just rim protection. He does an elite job of knowing when to trap or double a guy, or just getting a hand in a passing lane for a deflection or a steal. He's just so active defensively. The dude is just everywhere on the court, giving a first, second, third, fourth effort on plays. And he does this all while not compromising his team and leaving just a ton of holes where he's stuck in no man's land. Yeah, there's a few possessions here and there where he does go for a trap and gets kind of caught looking for his man or wondering where he's supposed to recover out to, but those are few and far between, and for a guy of his activity level, I'm okay with that. Some fun stats for CMB: he averaged 1.8 steals and 1 block in just 24 minutes, while also getting 3 offensive rebounds. The shot does definitely need some work, but he made a couple of threes throughout Summer League, and for a guy who only attempted 34 threes in his second year of college, making a couple in a 5-game stand is a pretty good sign. He was also pretty decent from the line, and the form doesn't look downright awful or there's anything super concerning about it. Just needs to work on letting go from his fingertips a little bit more. The last positive big takeaway I have from Summer League was just how good Ulrich Stromsche looked overall. Yeah, yes, he still has pretty awful hands when it comes to catching passes at non-perfect angles, but I wonder how much it does have to do with his finger that was wrapped throughout the entirety of Summer League. Maybe that was affecting his catch rate a little bit, but that is something he needs to work on. He also does look a little awkward trying to finish around the rim at times, just not super confident, but the most important thing was how much slower the game looked for him, especially on the defensive end. He seemed to be able to keep up with what the team was doing defensively and wasn't out of position almost ever. His foot speed looked absolutely incredible, staying with players on the perimeter with ease and forcing tons of turnovers with his active hands and aggressive ball pressure. He also did a pretty good job of protecting the rim and playing defense without fouling, and for a young guy, that's really important. Stromsche averaged 1.4 steals and blocks with only 3 fouls per game. He also had just some wow type of plays, like when he blocked one shot, ran the court into that Magic Johnson-esque dump-off pass. You don't just pull that one out unless you're reading the game at a pretty high level, and 2, you can actually make that pass, and Stromsche can't. The dribble also looked improved, still a bit of a ways to go, but he's definitely taking positive steps everywhere. He's also just a pretty good free throw shooter already, knocking down 11 of his 15 attempts from the line, good for 73%. I do think he still needs to work on just like defensive positioning around rebounds, blocking guys out and going up more aggressively to grab those, but he was really good on the offensive glass. I think another full G League season would help, but I also wouldn't be mad to see him playing some time with the big club in the regular season. Now for my one and only negative takeaway. Outside of Battle, none of the year 2 guys shot the 3 ball well. Most of them were downright awful, especially Jacoby Walter, who averaged just 27.5% from 3 on 40 attempts. And a lot of these were just catch and shoot looks, especially from the wings or corner. Jamal Shed averaged 24% on 21 attempts from 3, and Mobo shot 0% from deep on just 2 attempts. All of these guys, I think, need a 3 ball to reach their best versions, and it doesn't look like any of them are just taking that jump, or at least in Summer League. I will say Ochai Agbaji shot absolutely dreadful from 3 in Summer League, was sub 30%. Then he had a career year from deep in the regular season, shooting 40%, and looked like one of the best shooters on the team. Now, will that happen with any of these guys? I don't think you can say for sure. I don't think the alarm bell should be ringing just yet, but the fingers should be on the button. Of course, it's just Summer League, so the stats don't matter as much as the process. And I think that's something that stood up about all of the Raptors players and the team as a whole. The process looked good. Even despite the poor shooting splits, guys kept going with what they thought they had to do on the offense. They ran a good system defensively, and they never let bad shots or missing shots really affect how much intensity they brought to the defensive end. You know, a significant part of this team next year is this group of young, talented players, and I think they all are starting to embody the identity the Raptors want to establish. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. I'm extremely excited for next season.